You're listening to Foxx on the Wire podcast. Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode number 68 of Foxx on the Wire. Just wanted to check in and say hello before we get into today's episode. If you've been tuning in recently, you may have noticed that we've been focused on commemorating and celebrating a bunch of different albums that have just turned 30 this year. 1991 was a big year for big album releases, and obviously being in 2021, they're all turning 30. So a lot of those are my favorite albums, and I just wanted to commemorate them and celebrate them and talk about them and remember them because they're still as memorable today as they were when they first come out. So I hope you've been enjoying those episodes, and we still have a few more to come before the year's out, so tune in for those. With today's episode, I'm very excited to have someone on the show for the very first time. Her name is Dzire. She's hugely talented, and she's got a new single coming out on December 3rd called Gun Love, and I've been lucky enough to have a sneak peek, and it's a great song, and I think you're going to love it. And I'd highly recommend going back to her first EP on Spotify. Go and check that out before this new song comes out. And go and follow her on all her socials. I'll have those links in the show notes. Go and check her out. And while you're on the socials, please jump on to Foxx on the Wire and follow me so I can get all these new episodes out to you and so you don't miss any. And hit me up at foxonthewire@gmail.com if you have any comments, feedback, or requests. Without further ado, let's get into today's episode with Dzire. I hope you enjoy, and thank you very much, Dzire, for coming on the show. Cheers. All right, welcome everybody to episode number 68 of Foxx on the Wire. We have a very special guest today for her first time on the show. Dzire, welcome to Foxx on the Wire.
Thank you.
So you're an independent Australian singer-songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and can we add producer to that as well?
Yeah, I think we can. Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome. Now, let's start modern day. You've got a new single coming out on December 3rd called Gun Love, and I've been privileged enough to have a bit of a sneak peek. Thank you for sending that through. It's a great track. Do you want to tell us a bit about that track?
Gun Love, I think, it's a bit of a change from previous music I've done. I think the biggest difference with this one is that I produced it myself.
Right.
That was the new development, and I guess it's interesting to see what comes out when you're in control of the entire project, sort of creatively from the beginning. So from writing the song, singing the song, and producing it. So it's sort of interesting to see what came out. I mean, it's definitely it's got grit, and I would say it was raw. It's raw because it's how I've done it, how I've recorded it, how I've sung it, what it's about is just all really, consumer gear, just super straight from the source. So it's not too fancy, and it's not too, commercial in that aspect either. So it's quite alternative. So, I guess that's how I'd describe it.
Yeah, it's very hard to classify music these days, I find. It's not just rock and alternative and pop. You've got all these subgenres and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I guess, sort of researching what you'd been up to and this new track that's coming out, I don't know, maybe like dark wave or almost experimental alternative. You could probably throw a whole bunch at it. There's obviously a lot of different influences in there.
Yeah.
Not just with the new track, but your older stuff as well, which we can get into. But was that a big step for you, taking on the producer role? Was that something that you've been wanting to do, or was it something that you sort of had to do this time around because, well, for whatever reason, maybe you couldn't get anyone else in?
Yeah, I think for me it was like I always sort of started the songs with like as far as producing goes, there's always one instrumental element, right? So I'm not too proficient at either guitar or piano, but what helps me write a song is to get a good sound of those instruments, and I usually, just do chords from there and then I write a song to it. So it sort of started quite organically with just the songwriting process. So it wasn't a decision as such, it just sort of came out that way. So it was kind of like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to write a song. This sounds good with it. And then it's kind of like, oh, well, I'll do the next step. I'll do the next step until it was almost quite complete. Yeah. In which I then still work with my dad, and he, will jump in and finish off the mastering, mixing, adding little elements at the end. But as far as the whole soundscape, the whole, creation of the song, it just kind of fell out that way. So it wasn't really a decision. It was just kind of like, expression.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because obviously, I'm a guitarist and singer. I usually start with guitar and put a vocal melody on top, but I'm always interested to talk to people like yourself who aren't sort of, they're multi-instrumentalists like we just said. Yeah. And, you might start the songwriting process off a little bit differently and build it differently. So I guess I was kind of curious to talk to you about that. Let's start with Gun Love. Like, what was the first layer of Gun Love that you started with?
So interesting enough, like with Gun Love, it sounded completely different than how it sounds, but it did start actually on an acoustic instrument. So it did start on a guitar, and it was just the first tiny little bit. And I think from there, it was just that same day I decided I'm going to jump onto the studio, because sometimes it's where I go to start to write. All other songs I've done and all things I had done prior usually started on an instrument, but it was just getting into using the producing software to start a song was sort of a point of difference. So I went on there to start a song, and then I sort of blended what I wrote on the guitar that same day with what I was doing on the actual recording studio. So it's kind of a hybrid situation. But the start of that song very much was it sort of trajected a particular way based on the sounds I was able to get, the mood, the vibe, that dark pop, that dark synth kind of sound, and it just sort of shaped it from there. So I would say like I don't know, like if I was to recount exactly how I did it,
step by step.
I was probably just a manic person. I was like, you know what I mean, just all over the place. But it was the combination of all those things. It just sort of came out. So that was roughly the process. And I think I pretty much had the first half of the song within the first 3 hours, and then by the next day I'd completed the entire thing. Right. And then from there was months of just adding tiny little elements, tweaking things like, EQing, getting the drums right, getting, but otherwise the vocal take done basically the same day on the spot. So it's very much a song that was like, just done like that.
One of those, not easy ones, but one of the ones that almost takes care of the process itself if you just let it sort of breathe and sort of happen naturally. They're generally the best ones and the less stressful ones, I guess, aren't they? But
it's the most organic, I think. And look, there was a lot where I was like, it's a demo, and I went down to reproduce it. I did so many things just to be like, oh my God, I'm just going to use the demo take. Like it literally, it got to that point where it just got too complicated, and it's just there's something that you sometimes capture just in just the raw expression of it, whether it's perfect, whether it's got blemishes, whether it's, if so long as it captures that energy that you had, that sometimes just is more important than potentially the quality. Do you know what I mean? Of this, like it doesn't sound like it's done in a full proper, you know what I mean? It's got elements of it where you can tell it's kind of got that rough edge, but it just captured the energy of what the song was about. So I just had to roll with it, which is what happened.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, sometimes when you deliberately all right, I'm going to go for a proper vocal take here, or whatever it might be. And it's kind of comes out a little bit stale, but you were obviously in that moment with the demo process, and that worked more for the mood of the song. So nothing wrong with that at all.
No.
So I'm guessing you're predominantly a singer with
I
your
would say,
singing skills.
Yeah, I would say singer-songwriter. I would say, I'm not somebody who's had, I've had a few vocal lessons. If anything, my singing developed from my love and want to songwrite and to facilitate the vocals for the song I'm writing. So I would say, singer-songwriter is probably like my main thing. And it's like learning an instrument to be able to, fill in and facilitate the songwriting, or learning to produce to facilitate the ideas. It's just everything's kind of like an outlet that I've gone to for the song that I'm writing. So,
Okay. So you've got some skills with the recording software as well. Have you learnt that over the years as well?
Yeah, I would say, I learned that over the years. And it's been an interesting one. When it came to, learning to produce and all of that, a lot of it is just teaching yourself, I guess. Like that's what, that's sort of how I've done it. That's what my dad's done as well. It's all sort of self-taught. I did go to ColArts for producing. I didn't quite finish up, but I did the year there, and from there, you get the basics and stuff. But a lot of stuff I would say I had already sort of worked out just from watching my dad do it and jumping onto the software and just being like, okay, cool, I want to record this track. You slowly learn. But it'd been over a few years, I would say.
Cool.
Getting into the producing side of things.
Yeah, I mean, listening to this new song and your older stuff, like it's quite a landscape that you've created there, and which is why it's hard to pinpoint it down to a particular genre. So it's kind of cool that you can incorporate all this different sort of sound and effects and not overdo it. Again, being predominantly acoustic or electric guitar back in the day, it's always just been those main instrument elements. So I'm always interested to hear, stuff like you're doing. Yeah. And it's probably something I'd like to tamper with one day myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
But so you've worked with your dad as a producer in the past. He's your main inspiration in terms of...
He's my main man. So
main man, cool.
Yeah, so we work together, even for different things. Even if specifically he's not working with it, his opinion creatively, being like, oh, why don't you try that? You know what I mean? He's always been someone I've really trusted in that creative spectrum, in terms of contributing ideas and sort of working together. But so my dad's my music partner. Yeah.
Awesome. Is he a musician himself, like a songwriter and everything?
So when I was growing up, there's a lot of music in the house. Dad was singer-songwriter, still is a singer-songwriter, but he did move later on into the producing side of things. And I think that's when the first EP, Love Train, and that's that was very much when he was producing, and then he was like, cool, let's work together, let's try this. And so that's sort of how that came out. It was through the combination of my dad producing, my songwriting, and that's how that was forged. So always worked with him. So it's good.
That's awesome. At least he's not going to rip you off with his producer fees. Tell us about Love Train. Was that your debut EP in 2017?
Yeah, it was 2017, 2018. I can't remember. It's been such a while now. Or maybe it was 2017. Yeah. So that song, that was because I've been writing songs and writing music, I think pretty much most of my life, probably from 14 and that. And it was when I sort of started writing music a bit more seriously, I think. And when I got those sort of core songs down and started to produce them, that was a fun process. I enjoyed, just the bringing them to life. And it's just all the small things, I guess. Like I'd be at work, for instance, doing a job I absolutely hate, which was retail. And on my breaks, my dad would call me, be like, "Oh, I've got this new little bit for this thing." And he'd be trying to play it over the speaker and I could hardly hear it, but I could sort of hear it. And I'd be like, "Dad, that's it. Yes." And then I'd go back to work and I'd just be, even though I was in a dreary frigging retail selling shoes, I was just like happy because I was like, "Oh, we're making progress on the song." Like it's so good to have a project to work on. And so that was sort of the first project where I felt I understood what it was to make music, you know.
Cool.
And so, yeah, that was Love Train. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And did you support that with live shows and stuff? Like, have you sort of been out on the live circuit?
Yeah, so I did some live performances. Again, it's the same sort of scenario where it's I mean, everything was stripped back compared to what the production was. So I did everything acoustically. That's how I wrote everything originally. But at the time, that was I was quite young. Like I think in terms of knowing how to do anything. But for the first EP, I very much went out and just did everything. On the piano acoustically. Did lots of little gigs and. It was good fun. It was nerve-wracking, but it was good fun. So
yeah. Have you missed that whole scene in the last couple of years, you know, whether it's going out to watch other bands or artists and going out playing yourself? Have you missed that whole scene?
Yeah, I definitely missed it. I mean, for me, I'm just like, it's going to be so good at coming back because it's going to feel so much more impactful. Seeing a live performance is just going to feel like some kind of new ecstasy because you just haven't been, haven't seen it for so long. It's going to be like a suppressed like amazement. I'm looking forward to just being able to experience like a live performance again. And I don't know, see, jump back out and try to do some myself. So,
So with Love Gun, Gun Love. I think Love Gun's a Kiss song, isn't it? I've got that in my head. It's the other way around.
It can go either way. I don't mind.
Is that part of an EP or is that just a standalone single for now?
Yeah, so it's going to be part of an EP, and I would say. The rest of the EP, like I think, some of the songs get a bit heavier and then we've got a few more ballads in there. So it's going to be an EP of 4 to 5 songs. Nice. So, that's going to be a whole different dynamic, I guess, in terms of performing it, the kind of sound, the kind of vibe, the whole setup won't be so much of an acoustic sort of set. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, look forward to that. Let us know when your shows are and we'll try and get down and see some music that we've all been missing so much. I played a couple of gigs halfway through this year, which was the first ones for a while, and it was weird. Like I had to sort of kick myself and I'm actually standing on a stage and there's lights and it was a bit weird, but it was good. And then another lockdown and it's like, oh, fuck.
No. Back to the bedroom.
Yeah. So, and you're actually my first guest on the podcast for a little while. What I've been doing this year mainly is focusing on albums, talking about albums with people. So you're my first guest talking about their work for a while. So I'm glad to be doing this as well.
Yeah. Awesome.
So what were you doing prior to your Love Train EP in 2017? Had you released any other music, with any other projects or bands, or what were you doing?
Oh my God, what was I doing before 2017? I guess I think I had before that I was probably at school, but at school I did do a few things like a Cool Schools. I'm not sure if you've heard of that, but I did go into a studio and do a few projects and school bands, and that was very much what I was doing. I think prior to the Love Train EP.
Okay.
It was still writing music and still performing, but not too much of to sort of a serious level. I think I didn't have any projects that I was releasing prior to.
Okay. Yeah, cool. And I was going to ask you about your influences. I could hear a few in there, I guess, but I wanted to ask you Who some of your favorite music was growing up listening to, and I guess directly in line with your sort of songwriting or process, who are some of your favorite artists?
Yeah, so it's such a big one for me. Like I loved a lot of old music. I mean, that is just no hidden mysteries there. For me, it would range even from soul to 60s through to 70s rock, through to 80s punk rock. Like that's sort of, where my sort of influences definitely stem from. For the Love Train EP, very much the soul. You could probably hear a bit of that. That sort of vibe. And then this EP's, it's just a mix of, definitely more the 80s sort of music. Influences, what I was listening. It's really hard because I kind of listen to stuff that's completely different sometimes to what I do. But I did hear a few comments, people say, it sort of sounds like Joy Division, or it's this kind of, you know what I mean? I got so many, but then some people would be like, it's kind of like a 90s style. So it's just, you get so many different people, like so many different opinions. And to be honest, at the time, I wasn't necessarily thinking of anything in particular. But I would say that all those, sort of eras of music definitely inspire me. And definitely the post-punk stuff like The Clash, Joy Division is absolutely great. Nick Cave, all that kind of, music. The Doors, like I'm really big for, those sort of 70s rock sort of bands. And it's just, it's that kind of music that, I would say is sort of my inspiration.
It's hard to beat that stuff. And was that an influence sort of come down from your dad growing up when you were growing up?
Yeah, I would say definitely. We were listening to a lot of good music in the house. There's a lot of music that I found on my own as well. But, all of that was definitely, influence, and my dad's, showing me the good stuff. So
well done, Dad. My dad was the same. I think that's priceless. Like when you're growing up, what music is going on around you, you might not realise at the time, but it sort of shapes you.
Totally.
Definitely.
Like, I would say my first song, like the first song that I fell in love with, it was on a Walkman. I was listening to a Walkman, and it was Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple. Yeah. And I would just play it on repeat, and I would just sit on it. I was so tiny. I was so little on a swing set, and I just listened to Smoke on the Water and just be like, this is like drugs. Like, this is amazing, this feeling, of a song that is good. So, definitely all that music, being introduced to that at a young age and growing up is just priceless.
The most overplayed riff of all time in guitar stores.
It's the first riff I learned as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure you're not the only one.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah, actually, Deep Purple was never a band that I fully got into, and it wasn't because I didn't like what I'd heard. I didn't get to them, I think. Like I was more sort of Zeppelin and Eagles, Stones, and a lot of that similar stuff, but I never really fully dived into Deep Purple or Pink Floyd for that matter, actually. So I'm sure I'll get to them one day. I do have a couple of Deep Purple albums downstairs, but again, haven't got to it. There's so much good music to listen to.
Sometimes that happens. Like you go through a period and you skip one, and then you find it years later, and you're just like, everyone, this is great. They're like, we've been there, done that. Well, I skipped it. Like
only 50 years too late.
But then it's cool when you do it. You know that you're just original for liking it at that moment.
So what band or what artist would you say that you listened to and was inspired by that made you say, I want to do that?
I want to do music. Oh, wow.
Tough question.
Pardon? It's so tough. It's so tough.
Yeah.
And I think this is the interesting thing. It came down to me. It was the singer. It was watching somebody sing and deliver an emotional performance that was just so gripping and true of raw emotion. And I to try to put my finger on a specific, it wasn't a band, it wasn't a particular song, it was to see a performer do that and be able to portray that and just be that. It could have started with, who knows, if it was like Elvis Presley or Sinead O'Connor was pretty impactful for me, I think, as well. Oh God, there's just so many. Like even the old, it started with soul music. It definitely did start with hearing that soul. Whether that was Etta James or it would have been a soul singer that made me think I want to do this.
Yeah. It's not always one band or one moment that makes you want to do it. It can be a collective thing.
I think to love music, appreciate, and just want to be around it, that it would have been Smoke on the Water, or like like Bohemian Rhapsody or something. But when it came to actually I want to do it, it would have been for me a singer. I think because I resonate as being a singer, sort of singer-songwriter first and foremost. So it would have been a solo singer. I couldn't put my finger on who it was, but it would have been something soulful for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. What was your first concert? Do you remember your first concert?
My first concert. I can remember my first festival. Oh God, it was probably it was probably a festival. Who was playing there? It was, I think, Rammstein. Who else? Diane Wood. I think that was my first proper festival. In terms of concerts and things, I mean, because I grew up in Canberra, there wasn't too much going on, when I was young, so I didn't really get the opportunity. It was more when I moved to Melbourne, and sort of as a teenager, I got to see more live stuff because I was so rural before that. But, I think my first live performance was, what was a Big Day Out, one of the Big Day Out. Yeah. I think Nick Cave was there. I saw, Diane Wood, Rammstein. Who else did I see? I think Billy Idol, was he there? I can't remember. There was so much going on. And it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, that's not only good bands, but like a huge experience too. So that's not a bad first one to go to. Yeah. Wow. And what would you say is your most useless talent?
My most
random question.
Talent. To make people uncomfortable, I guess. I'm really good at that. I'm really good at making people feel uncomfortable if I want to. So it's useless.
Yeah.
But it could be useful, yeah.
It could be useful, yeah.
I mean, in situations, in like big group settings or parties, if you want to make people if you want to make someone uncomfortable, just ask me to jump in there, and I can.
All right, you heard that, everyone. It could come in handy one day.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got Gun Love released on December 3rd. Now, this is a digital release?
Yes.
Yep, cool.
Yes.
Any plans of shows depending on what things are looking like, or is that sort of more for 2022?
I think that's just I think there's plans for shows, absolutely. I think there's a couple of ones that you can do online, so if the opportunity comes to do those, if it's too hard to find live shows, but at any opportunity it will be to cue some live performances, but at the moment there's nothing in the pipeline, no particular dates or venues, but soon to be. We'll let everyone know if that is the case.
Excellent. Yeah, it's a bit hard to plan for that sort of thing
at
the moment, I think. So, but good to see you releasing some new music. And you think this one's a little bit different from what you've done in the past?
Yeah.
Gun Love is a bit different from Love Train?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think even just the other songs, I would say it's quite a change in direction, to be honest. I would say this sort of music, even the other songs to follow up, they're quite heavy. Like they're quite a lot of like heavier tunes. I'd be booking completely different venues for the music that I'm going to release now. It's going to be a big change, and it's just going to be a whole lot of energy, different kind of energy. So, but it's exciting.
I look forward to hearing the other tracks. Did you produce the other tracks as well?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Geez, that would have been stressful, the whole doing the whole process. But
yeah, I mean, I've had some help with Dad, which is good.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of doing them, it's a hard process. It still is a hard process, to feel finished with things as well. So
it's hard to draw that line sometimes, isn't it? Like, all right, this is done. It's really hard to, maybe it needs more mixing, or it's really hard to, but you've got to call it somewhere, otherwise you'd be working on it for
forever,
for a long time. Which kind of kills it as well a little bit, I think.
It does. It kills it. And also, like, you move on to other things as well. I think for me, it's in terms of writing music, like I'll write an EP, and then by the time it's ready, like I've already written all these other songs that I just feel like I want to work. You know what I mean? So it's really, you've got to kind of, once you've got it, you've got to pin it down, and you've just got to be like, finish it. Because I mean, I've probably got hundreds of songs just here and there, half finished, this or that, and it's very hard to pin it down and just be like, finish. And like what I had to do with Gun Love was, as I said, I had to take it to such a far point to be like, oh, it was done. It was done. Do you know what I mean? So it's weird how you learn to start to know when it's done. Hopefully I don't have to go through the process too many more times of thinking I've got to work this hard, and then to realize that all that work was to figure out that I didn't need to do anything further. So it's
always a learning process, I think. And
totally.
Well, where can people find you online?
Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. I do put a few songs. I've got some songs on YouTube. TikTok I've started. This is what the kids are using these days, and
I jumped on there too, and I'm like, I don't know about this. But,
I know. I was just like, I don't. I don't know. I'm floating around on there too. I mean, those are probably the main places to find me. I will have a website probably in the next week. It's actually not done right now, but there will be a website that you'll be able to find from Instagram, Facebook, and all those platforms. So
excellent.
Yeah.
All right, so
and
December.
Spotify. So you can hear me on Spotify and SoundCloud.
Yep. Beautiful. Well, I'll put links in the show notes to all your socials, and get on it, people. December 3rd, Gun Love by Dzire. Thank you for coming on the show. Nice to meet you. Hopefully we can get to meet you in person someday soon in the near future. Fantastic. And we can get back to some live music. And
I know.
great to chat with you, and I look forward to hearing the rest of the EP when it's ready as well. So thank you Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you again soon for another episode of Foxx on the Wire. Cheers.